Thanks for joining us for the interview portion of the Data Speaks competition created in partnership with RFG 2018 and Sequent. I'm Nicole Doucette, a science communications specialist with Sequent, and I'm joined today by Stephanie from Western University. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so Stephanie,
Yes.
your original abstract title was Reconstructing Eastern Beringian Paleo Environment and Ecological Niche of Late Pleistocene of Vibos Moschatus using Cyber.
Yes.
Yes, so what is your revised non-specialist abstract title?
So that mouthful pretty much translates into how do some animals manage to survive extinction when they probably should have died?
That makes a lot more sense to me.
Yeah.
So what question are you trying to answer?
So pretty much I want to look at this large Arctic shaggy herbivore, the muskox, and determine why about 12,000 years ago, when over 70% of all these large animals in North America went extinct, like the woolly mammoth, the mastodon, the wild horse, all these animals went extinct, but the muskox didn't, so why? And we know that during this time, there was increases in temperature, which shifted the landscape from a grassland to more forested environments. And we think that animals weren't able to adapt quickly enough to this change. So by looking at the diet of the muskox and comparing it to these other animals that did go extinct, hopefully we can have some insight and see how maybe perhaps this muskox diet has changed over time and how it's been able to adapt.
Cool. Yeah. So what concept does someone need to know to understand your research?
So this is where stable isotope analyses come out, which if you think back to grade 9 chemistry class, which I'm sure is everyone's favorite high school
Absolutely.
memory, and you think of the periodic table of elements, all these elements are defined by their number of protons, and an element can have a different number of neutrons. And so, for example, carbon-12 is the most common form of carbon, but there's also carbon-13. And within a material, you can measure the difference between the two and come up with a numerical value. So for plants, for instance, a forest or tree woody materialed plant is going to have a set numerical value associated with it versus, let's say, a grass. And when animals eat these plants, this signal almost gets trapped into the bone, which then we can measure and figure out what this animal was eating during its lifetime, whether it was mostly grass-based or woody material-based.
Cool. And so what role does data play in your research?
So the data so far has shown that the muskox actually ate a combination of both these plants, which is pretty useful for when there's a changing landscape going from grasslands to forest environments. And the niche size and habitat of the muskox itself was actually found to be most productive during the coldest time periods. And then when this warming event happened around the extinction, it looks like it almost became extinct with all these other animals, but then somehow it was able to rebound to this good population size. And so we think that it's this ability to eat a combination of both grass and woody material that allowed for their survival, because so many other animals were only able to eat exclusively grass or exclusively tree material, and they all ended up going extinct.
Yeah. So why is it important for you to share your data and your research?
So I think in terms of everything in geology, the past is the key to the present. So being able to understand how animals adapted to climate change in the past and being able to use that information to then channel towards current conservation efforts, and especially in Arctic ecosystems today, which are being affected by increasing global temperatures at a much quicker rate than any other temperate or more southern region. I think that it's important to have those resources available and also be able to make sure that even though our generation might not be directly impacted or see the exact consequences of what's going on with temperature increases right now, if we can provide these resources for future generations and give them the knowledge and the power to move forward with all this, hopefully they can better our world with that.
Great, thanks for sharing that.
No problem.
Thanks for joining us today, Stephanie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Once again, this is the Data Speaks competition at RFG 2018, created in partnership with Sequent. You can watch the videos on YouTube or Twitter, #CDataSpeak.